our first weight reduction program here that you're doing, right?
Yes.
I think, oh my God, the way you move.
Thank you.
This gentleman is a professor over at SUNY.
Yes, I
and
am.
I can't imagine what his students think. Do you do this for your students? I feel good.
Well, I've been told I'm energetic, but I don't do James Brown for them.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be a bad guy to follow.
That's right. That's
Good.
right.
So you got a band here. You got 2 new members here over here. Let's take a look here. And let's introduce them. Come on over. Come in a little bit closer if you can. Okay.
On lead guitar, got Tony Berkeley.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
On bass, we have the phenomenal Zen.
Zen. Well, look at that. That is a gorgeous guitar.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you just buy that off the rack? Where did you get that?
I got it in Detroit.
Okay.
12, 13 years ago.
In Motown, huh? Motown, yeah. Well, I imagine you find any kind of music instruments there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And who else is in the band here? So we'll.
Well,
Oh well, we got Phil here. Phil's been around. Yeah, we know Phil, and we know Derek over there.
And that's I call him other Derek, so I don't get confused. But
The other Derek?
Yeah, Derek Westcott.
Hi, Derek. Good to see you guys.
He's
And
a SUNY student as well.
you're a SUNY student as well. And
Yeah, well, I kept telling him no, but he's like, I insist.
so the band plays at a lot of places. And do you have any regular gigs?
Well, actually, we've been trying to circulate a little more throughout the Capital District. We just finished a festival this Saturday for the Troy's Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, nice, nice, yeah.
And then for the rest of the summer, we're going to be doing a little wood shedding, meaning we're coming in, doing some recording, doing some rehearsing, perfecting our stage show, and then we're going to do some touring of the East Coast.
Wow, you guys, are you getting excited about that? I know I am. So anyway, what are you going to play next?
Oh, My Girl.
My Girl. Oh, I love that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so nice. Okay, good. I hope I'm one of the My Girls. find my microphone here, but here it is. And you guys are so great. I love that music. Is that all Motown music?
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's
Motown.
where she got her guitar.
Oh, yeah. we got a Motown band.
You got a Motown band, and you're going to be able to see them in the area as well. What I did was, normally I have them play for the breaks, but it's kind of difficult for them to get in and out, and we take a lot of time doing that. So what I've done is I dug out an old show that you were on,
Excellent.
but you had your backup singers on it.
Oh, yeah. That's okay.
So it's it was a little bit of a different band, but it's still Derek Horton and the J Street Band.
That's right.
So we'll be seeing a little bit of that throughout the rest. And then we'll be talking to you again, and we're going to have you wrap up the show. What are we going to play at the end?
We're going to do...
He needs to dry off. I need to get him a towel.
A towel, yeah. Brick House.
Okay.
We're going to do Will It Go Round in Circles?
Okay.
And then we'll close it out with Superstition.
Oh, wonderful. Superstition. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, great, good. So we'll see you. And right now I'm going to ask my guests to come on, and they're going to play a little bit of the break while you guys get off. Thanks for watching. You're watching Schenectady Today. These lights are so bright, my hair is going to be just...
Oh, yeah, baby.
Well, it's that time of year again when the summer lunch program starts out at Sikkim, and oh my gosh, every time they come, they found 1 or 2 new sites. I'm not sure what's happening this time, but how many sites do you have, Rick?
Well, we have about 15 fixed sites and about another 10 mobile sites.
Wow. Reverend Philip Grigsby is with us, and she brought Lori Bachelor. I got it right, good. And she is the development director over at Sikkim, and we're going to find out how they go about preparing. You sit in the kitchen and cook?
That was the good old days. And those are good and those are old. So.
Okay, good. So tell us a little bit about how this all came about.
Well, 22 years ago, we developed the first site in Central Park. And back in those days, which were good, well, old, maybe not good, we'll see. Well. We used to actually make the sandwiches, but that was...
Oh, you really did?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, back in the day.
Now you have a caterer.
Now we have a vendor that we do. We have to do a contract for it. And this year we're very excited. We have a new vendor called Red Rabbit, which is not to be confused with Roger Rabbit or
Red Robin.
Red Robin. It's Red Rabbit. Red Rabbit is from downstate, and they have a very new philosophy on summer meals and meals in general. Laura, you want to say a little bit about their meals?
Yeah, they've changed the menu up a little bit from prior years, which is very healthy, very nutritious meals. We're offering breakfast this year, including the lunch, so we could call it the Summer Meals Program.
Okay.
And so we offer breakfast in the morning at 4 sites, and then the summer lunch program. And it includes a lot of standard products like healthy food, like we have a lot of tuna fish and baked chicken and rigatoni, and we have got
like
Chinese chicken with rice,
yeah,
which is really nice. Good. Curry chicken, there you go.
Right.
So these are nice. These are nice meals. Yeah. They aren't just getting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with a bag of chips.
Sometimes they could, but there's no chips this year. But we have moved to a lot of vegetables, like squash and potatoes and fresh fruit.
And kids really need to be exposed to those foods because
Yeah.
they
Right,
may not
right.
be exposed to them at home. The first place, a lot of people don't know how to cook vegetables.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Believe it or not, I mean, it's like, you know, it's a mysterious
Yep,
food there. If
yep.
you don't eat it raw, what do you do with it? You know, one of those things. But you brought us PowerPoint, so let's take a look at the PowerPoint.
Well, just
and
to
then-
highlight a couple things.
Okay, good. And we'll take a look at that.
That's some images of the program and people we serve. I mean, we're here because the children, we care about the children.
And children are all the way up to 18, is that correct?
18 and under, so
Right.
it can be 18. But I think the main thing we always want to stress is any child who comes can get food. There's no sign up,
Requirements.
there's no requirement, there's no nothing. So that's our staff that does it.
So how do you plan? I mean, how many? I mean, I've done parties. I don't know how much food to. You know, how do you do that?
It takes a lot of planning.
Okay, planning. Okay,
And
cool.
it really does. I mean, it takes a lot of work in the springtime to put it together, and the vendor does a lot of work on it. And we always have Monday as a shelfable day, where we serve locker mates, and it's shelfable food. And
Oh, food that they can put in the cabinet.
That's right, cabinet. And then the other 4 days at lunch are hot meals.
And that's our breakfast program right there. We
And
have
the
4
breakfast program is new because we have mobile vehicles thanks to Wright Family Foundation United Way.
They're wonderful, aren't they?
And we're able to go out to various sites. But I think the main thing we're trying to stress at this time of the summer is just the importance of people reminding people it's there. You need to come out. There are a lot of sites, big sites are like Central Park and Jerry Burrell Park, smaller parks like Wallingford Park. We thank the city for their cooperation on that. But also inside places like Friendship House and Faith Methodist Church and a lot of congregations. The bridge in Mount Pleasant are places where people can go. And again, we just stress that any and all are welcome, that it's not limited. You don't have to sign up or anything else.
You just show up, basically.
You just show up, and you don't have to bring your birth certificate. I mean, it's really very, very simple. And because it replaces the school lunch program. And during the school year, kids get the meal. And thanks to this district, which opted for the community eligibility provision, all the students get free lunch and free breakfast, which has really helped the absenteeism rate too. But
the alertness and
alertness, everything else, yeah.
You're just simply when you're hungry or
Yeah.
even if you don't know you're hungry, your body needs that nutrition. And what do you do as a development officer?
Well, part of what we do is both the program and raise funds for this.
You raise
We
funds.
support with grants, and we seek out donors to help us support this program. And we look at the program development as well. What are the strengths and challenges of a program, and try to
And how
always
can you
improve
tweak it if you
How
have
can
to?
we tweak
That's
it? I
right,
mean,
yeah.
we also do supplemental services at these things, such as playing. We have coloring and books and a reading program.
So
and
it's
an
an
arts
enrichment
program.
as well.
I mean, here's
Yes.
a reading program
Yeah.
we have.
And you have a reading program.
Yeah,
at
we
some
do.
of the sites,
Yeah.
so that, I mean, in the vocabulary now is the famous summer slide.
Yeah.
You know, kids forget stuff over the summer, so what can you do about that? Well,
You have to
you
keep
can
them-
have reading at sites, and the other advantage is, unfortunately, there's still some young people that feel there's a stigma to getting the meals.
Yeah.
I mean, there should not be a stigma, but some people feel that way. And so, well, maybe I'm coming for the reading, maybe I'm coming for the...
Oh, in other words, you have a
There's some other-
Yeah, I
And
got you.
And some of the bigger sites like Hillhurst Park and, Steinmetz Park has camps that go on as well. And so
we
there's not
complement
a...
those.
There's a lot of
And
things.
a lot of things, and also it helps to boost the attendance because, you have to, a person has to come out for the meal. Well, you got to come out for the meal. So what's going to draw somebody out? Well, I mean, the meal's
A little
terrific.
activity never hurts, right?
I mean, the meal's terrific, but it helps to have,
An activity. Well, how do you
something
get
else to go with it.
Who volunteers to serve those meals?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because we want to really thank it's close to 1,000 volunteers who help out. They serve the meals, some of them play games. All the fixed sites have volunteers. And for the small sites, it might be 2 or 3 people, larger sites, 4 or 5 people.
And do they come every time, or do they?
Every week we're open. And
But I mean, not the same person all the time.
well,
they,
it's a team. It's usually the same person who provides the link.
a certain day.
But we have a number of folks from GE, various parts of
The
GE
Alphans,
downtown R&D,
Churches.
congregations too, but a lot of GE folks, it might be a different person every day,
Right.
and just one key person that stays through the week, and so they rotate through as part of the lunch. So the volunteers have the heart and soul to it because they interact with the young people. I mean, we have calls starting in January, believe it or not, with congregations and groups that say,
That want to get it on the schedule.
we want to get on the schedule on this week in July at this park. So it's a very...
They know where they want to be. Now,
They do,
this is
yeah.
really neat. It says the meal sites take a book to keep, so they can
Yeah, you
actually...
can keep, yeah, because we get donations of books, and we
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
welcome donations of good books, good children's books as well.
And I know that
So,
when the Schenectady Library has their book sales, you can usually get
We
books
get-
on
we
Sunday. On the Sunday, you can take any of the books that are...
we get resources that are available as
yeah.
well.
So, I mean, people are working together in this community
Very much
to
so.
make it a better community and to make sure that kids are enriched. Maybe food, but also there's more to it than that.
Well, I mean, we started the program because we noticed, I mean, we've always cared about kids and what we do as a ministry, but we noticed a big bump for people coming to our food pantry in the summer. Well, guess what? Kids are home. They're going to the fridge. Where, where are they going to go? So
Yeah.
that's why we went, one thing led to another about having the summer meal programs. And because it's a big program, complicated, good news is we're the only sponsor in the county. The bad news is we're the only sponsor in the county.
I know, I hear you, I hear you.
Whereas if you have listeners in Albany and Troy, there are multiple, Saratoga too, multiple sponsors that
Yeah,
do
sponsor,
various
but
things.
you're doing it. But I mean, we
Yeah.
just to run through the fixed site, we have Bethel Northside, Central Park, Collins Park, Faith Deliverance Tabernacle, Friendship House, Hillhurst, Jury Burrell. My Sci is doing it. That's really
We have a
great
site at my
connection,
site,
yeah.
but we had somebody call and said, I went there, the site wasn't there. Well, if it rains, they go inside. So
Yeah, yeah.
Go look inside.
Martin Luther King School, the
Right.
Mount Olivet, New Day Christian, Quackenbush Park, Schenectady Public Library, Steinmetz Home, Steinmetz Park, St. Luke's Catholic Church, Wallingford Park, Yates Village, and then they have the mobile sites, the Bridge, Faith. I mean, go to their website. The list is
Well,
there.
the other thing that your listeners can do, is just call 211.
Okay.
And I
That's
know-
the United Way.
That's the
number.
United Way information referral. If you just punch 211, they'll tell you where all the sites are anywhere, really. They can provide a great assistance for that. We try to have them in every neighborhood. Also in Scotia, as you see at Collins Park, so it's not just the city. The city has the highest rate of children who are high priority, but it really goes throughout the county.
Yeah, I mean, poverty has no special place, does
Right,
it?
right, right.
It's wherever, and anybody
Yeah.
can find themselves into a situation where there is need.
Right.
You might lose a job, there might be illness in the family, who knows? So this is why it's so important to take a broader look at this. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got a call from a woman who's a single mom, 2 kids, 1 child disabled, and so, they're really in a marginal situation.
Yeah.
And she lives in one of the suburbs that doesn't qualify for having a full program, so we tried to steer her the right one. And you have to see which way can go in the following summer, how we can provide, because there are people in marginal, they're at risk.
And they may not even have a car to get to the other side.
Well, she did, but some don't.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Transportation, as you well know around here, is challenging. So,
It is.
yeah.
It is. It's very challenging.
Yeah, that's right. But I think we want to stress, just in closing, that, again, it's 18 and under, no restrictions, no requirement. You come, you're eligible, that's it.
What we'll do is we'll put this, as a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure he keeps this and this with me, and I'll scan these in and I'll put them on the Facebook page.
That'd be great, yeah.
So we'll get the word out for you.
Well, we want to keep getting the word out because we go through the end of August. Not every site's open the last 2 weeks in August because people go away and things kind of scale back a little bit, but there are sites open through September 1st until school starts the following week.
Well, you certainly, if you know someone that might be interested in this, pass the word along. We've been speaking with Reverend Philip Grigsby and from Schenectady Inner City Ministry, and Lori Bachelador, got that right. She's the development director. I want to thank you both for being here today.
Thank
and
you.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to see Derek Horton and the J Street Band, but we're going to see them on film. And then when we come back, we're going to be speaking with an artist that is really a wonderful artist in many media. So you're going to hear about his sculpture. Stay tuned. are back again, and I have Vince Forte Jr. You go Forte or Fort?
Forte.
Forte. I did it right. Okay, good. Junior, he's a sculptor. Sculptor? Is that what you?
Yes,
Artist.
I'm an artist and a sculptor.
A sculptor, right? And you do sculptures.
I have done some sculpture work. I've done restoration of some bronze sculptures, and I also do oil paintings.
I know you do. Your oil paintings are wonderful. I've seen them, and he has a website. But we're here to talk about something a little bit different, because your dad?
My dad was a sculptor. He worked in many mediums, stones, bronze.
Is that where you got it from?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
And he did Sergeant Henry Johnson back in the mid-90s, 1996, the bronze sculpture that's in Washington Park in Albany. At that time, he hadn't yet received the Congressional Medal of Honor, and they were still working for that. Then he also sculpted the second bronze of Henry Johnson that's in Albany. That's in Henry Johnson Park.
Okay, so there's two of them.
There's two. The first one was completely done by him before he passed away. The second one, he had passed before they had raised enough money to complete it. So I completed it for him. So he was the sculptor, I'm the artist on that bronze. And that one is in field uniform instead of dress uniform. It's a little different. Then in 2015, Henry Johnson received the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Right.
And at that point in time, we then started to put the Congressional Medal of Honor in bronze to the scale of the monuments.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some of the photos. Or I guess maybe he's been doing it, but maybe we can talk about them from the beginning.
So the first one that was shown was my dad with the original first bronze.
Can we back up a little bit on those?
Yeah.
If we can back up, we'll talk about them in the order that there they go. There's your dad.
Right, so there's my dad with the original bronze. This was at his studio before it was installed on the monument in Albany. And then the second one is the wax carving of the Congressional Medal of Honor.
They do a wax first.
Yes, it's used the lost wax method, and I can explain that in a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's an interesting process.
They did that with the Steinmetz and the
yes,
Edison thing.
Same type of process. Yes, that's right. I was on the committee for that.
Yeah.
Very honored to be part of that committee. And so that's the wax, and then this is the medal in bronze. And again, my father sculpted this. The fine details on here is very difficult to get with clay.
I saw that little, the top
So what he did was he did the entire sculpture in clay, but the medals, he carved them in wood so that he could get the extremely fine detail. Museum quality instead of outdoor quality.
I just can't even imagine.
So then this one is the one in Washington Park. Before and after the restoration, which I just completed this spring. So we cleaned it up and repatinaed it. And this is the metal added to the stone. There was no room on the bronze itself on that first bronze, so we added it to the stone with the additional
because he received it in 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is the second one, and you see it now has the military helmet, so it's field uniform. And if you look closely at the chest, you'll see on the left it's before, the medal is not there, and on the right we've added the medal to the bronze. So
that seems like it'd be hard to do.
It's not easy, but it is possible
doable.
to do.
It's doable, right?
I much rather would just cast it all together. Now, this one I had cast in 2007 after my father passed. But
that's this one here?
Yes, but we still hadn't gotten the medal, but we knew it was coming, so my dad had added the room for the medal on this bronze, so we were able to add it to the figure.
How did he know it was coming?
Because he had faith. He had faith, and the 369th veterans had faith that it would be there, so we planned for it.
You planned for it. Good for you.
The next one is myself with Mayor Sheehan of Albany during the unveiling, which was June 5th. That was the first annual Sergeant Henry Johnson Day for Albany. So every year they will commemorate.
And that's in Washington Park.
This is in Washington Park, yes. Right. And then this is the one in Henry Johnson Park. That's my wife and I in front of the monument there. So those are the photographs that I brought. You talked about the lost wax, the waxes, I'll explain a little bit about the lost wax process. There's over a dozen steps to making a bronze. The first step, of course, is the sculptor.
So it isn't like a piece of marble you just start chipping away.
No, not for bronze.
Okay.
So the first step is the sculptor sculpts it, typically in clay, but he can carve in wood or he can sculpt it in the wax. My dad did all of that, all these different mediums to create his bronzes.
What a wonderful childhood you must
Oh,
have had.
I had a wonderful childhood, yeah. Watching him do his art was amazing. And he used every medium, not only sculpture, but paintings and
How
everything.
enriched you were. Yeah.
Amazing man.
Yeah.
Then the next step is you take that and you make a mold using pure rubbers. And from that mold, then you cast a wax. And that's similar to the metal that you saw previously. So the wax is then, the artist will then come in, or the sculptor, if he's living, will then come in and re-sculpt the wax. And so it doesn't come out perfectly. And so you need to make corrections and adjustments. So each one is individual at that point. Every time you cast one, we did 2 metals, one for each of these bronzes. They're not exactly the same because I touched each wax for the 2 waxes.
All right.
And then once you have the wax set, then you add the gating to the wax. And the
Gating?
Gating is basically in wax. There are channels to guide the molten bronze.
Okay, gating. So,
Gates.
okay, pathways. Or,
Pathways, yeah, tools.
Got it.
And
I'm
then
trying to understand.
Yeah. Then after the gating, then refractory ceramic material is invested into the wax, inside on both sides of the wax, so you now encase it. And then you fire that and harden the ceramic into a hard shell.
Now we're working with ceramics.
Now we're in ceramics.
Wood, we went to the wax. Okay, good.
And then you bury the ceramic very gently into a bed of sand, and you encase it in sand.
So you're going to fire it up?
And then you take the molten bronze. This is the fun part. You take the molten bronze, pour it in through those gates. It fills in the molten. And as soon as it hits that wax, the wax instantly, it doesn't even melt. It vaporizes.
Oh, okay.
It's just a gas.
So hot.
The bronze at that point is something like 2,200,
Oh, okay.
2,300
Yeah,
degrees
yeah.
Fahrenheit. So it's very hot.
Yeah.
And the gases are expelled out other gates on the other side of these things. And then you let it cool. Cools for 2 to 3 days, maybe a week. Once it's cool enough to touch, you then take a hammer and you...
Because you're talking 2,200 degrees.
Yeah.
And so it takes a while to cool down.
It takes a while to cool down, yeah. It's quite a massive
So when your dad
bronze.
said, don't touch that.
You better pay attention. You then take a hammer and you break away the ceramic, and what you have then is the bronze. Then you take that and you sandblast it, you cut away the gating, you repair that, and here again the artist comes back in and has to resculpt on the bronze to hide those points. And then at this point it's as shiny as a new penny. You know, most bronze
So
is
you want the
mostly
patina
copper.
on it then
And you need to have a patina. You need to add the color, and that's done with acids and bases and heat and cold. And you can paint. You can paint any color in the rainbow on the bronze. Yellows, bright yellows, dull yellows. We're normally used to seeing the dull yellows, which we think of as bronze.
Yeah.
But it can be anything: reds, blues.
So it's not like
everything.
copper that turns green or something like that.
Bronze is mostly copper, and then it has a few other elements in it, but it's about 85% copper, really.
Because I thought the copper.
And it will turn
burnished,
green
yeah.
over time if you don't protect it.
Yeah.
So what you then do is once you've finished adding your patina, and here again the artist is working with the foundry artisan to add that patina. So the artisan, that they spend their whole life doing patina work, and you don't want to try that yourself. It's an art into itself. But the artist, his head's right over here on that artisan, and he's telling them, I want more, less, little, darker, lighter, everything, and they have to be of one mind as those hands are moving. And that's an experience in itself, quite thrilling.
Incredible.
Once the patina's done, then it's waxed. That protects it from getting green, and then it's installed on the stone. Every couple of years, it should be re-waxed so that you don't get that green, or if you prefer the green, you just let it go. But that's the lost wax method.
That's the process. Oh my gosh, it's just an incredible process, and then when I see that now you have to add the metal, the metal to the sculptor.
Yep,
Yeah,
right. So to do that, you either bronze weld it or you're drilling holes with bolts and setting it that way. There are a lot of different ways to attach it depending on what you've got as a situation.
I admire what you artists do. I mean, it's incredible. And we're speaking with Vince Forte, Jr. His father was a sculptor as well, and it's amazing work. Take a look at it. It's on exhibit at the Henry Johnson. No, guys.
It's in Washington Park, Albany,
but
and in Henry Johnson Park, Albany, the
right.
two parks.
Because and then Henry Johnson Boulevard. So it's quite
So at each end of the
famous.
boulevard, the parks are at each end of the boulevard.
Right.
Probably the only place in the world where you have a boulevard named for the man, a bronze sculpture at each end of the for the man, done by the same sculptor. It's probably the only place in the world for that.
Okay, I think
Very
you need
unique.
to get that in the Guinness Book of Records or
Yeah,
something.
maybe.
You maybe work on it, get your name in there too. We've been speaking with Vince Forte, Jr. Take a look, go take a ride over to Albany and check that out, because I think you'll find that and when you look at these sculptures, look at them very carefully, because now that you know how they're done, you're going to be in awe, right? Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. And keep enriching our world with your art.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about recycling. Stay tuned. And here we are back again. I have Angelina Peony on the show. We're talking about recycling and composting. I compost.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes, and of course I recycle. But you know, I'm amazed at when I saw some of the slides that you sent, the pictures that you sent about paper, plastic bags and what to recycle and things. So let's talk about what you do.
Thank you so much for having me on the show this morning, Anne. It's great to be here. I'm very excited to talk about the recycling education program that I do. It's very well deserved in Schenectady to raise awareness about recycling and all the different things that you can recycle, not only at home but out in the community as well. As you mentioned the slide for film plastics. Many people don't realize that plastic bags like bread bags and zipper bags and things like that.
Grocery stores.
Yes, you can bring them back to the grocery store and recycle them here in New York State. So those plastic bags and things like that.
There's a lot of states that do no recycling or bottle deposits or anything.
Yes, well, nationally, the United States has a recycling rate of about 30% participation in recycling, which is pretty good, but we still create about 2 times the the per capita amount of trash per person per day. So it's a great topic. So as a recycling educator, I go out into different communities in Schenectady County, and I work with families and residents and schools and business owners and whoever wants to learn more about recycling. I'm happy to chat with them about all the things that they can do to reduce waste.
And what does a master recycler or a master composter do?
So the Master Composter, Master Recycler training program is somewhat analogous to Cornell Cooperative Extension's Master Gardener program.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, some of your viewers may be familiar with that. So a group of adults will receive training from the Cooperative Extension to become an expert in recycling and composting, and they'll learn a lot of other topics related to environmental sustainability and waste reduction, like reuse and
then do they
things
go out
like
and
that.
speak? Then they become advocates?
Absolutely. So after the training program, they will be a network of trained volunteers who will help extend the reach of the Schenectady County Recycles program. So they will help with program delivery, program development to both youth and adult audiences, do things like community outreach at farmers markets and in local elementary schools, and lots of fun stuff. So it's really a great program.
And
I'm
how
excited
do they
to
sign
bring
up
that.
for this?
There's a volunteer application process that's available on the Cooperative Extension's website. So they fill out the application, and then the sign up for the training. That's going to be 10 weeks of training. So there's 10 two-hour sessions that's going to take place at the Sustainable Living Center in Central Park. I'm really excited to be facilitating the workshop. There's a lot of different demonstrations about composting, the science behind it, the different methods of composting.
Do they learn both? So it's both.
Yes,
it's not
they
just
will
two
learn
separate ones.
about sustainable materials management, both from recycling perspective and from a composting perspective. Okay. So the workshop's going to be really jam-packed with lots of great information. I've invited a lot of different guest speakers to come and facilitate workshops throughout the course of the sessions. So I've invited folks from the DEC, other local recycling educators, people who work at composting facilities, or people who work with single-stream recycling directly. So it's really going to be a jam-packed session with lots of information.
Schenectady has gone to single stream. That's really kind of nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's becoming a trend across the nation for single-stream recycling because it just increases participation for people to recycle as much as possible.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like I have glass in this. Wait, clear glass here, colored glass here, cans here, paper here. You know, so you have all these containers in your garage.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point, because having fewer bins to transport also means fewer trucks on the road. So it does reduce the carbon footprint of the waste industry, which is tremendous. So single-stream recycling, for the most part, is great for Schenectady. They came on board in September.
So we need to get people to think about recycling and perhaps get involved to be an advocate by taking these classes. 10 weeks in 2-hour classes. Yep. And they're in September and October, if I can recall.
Yes, Thursday evenings, September through October. So it's an evening class to encourage working adults to come. It's a great program also for young people, college students who maybe are interested in environmental science, and they're interested in sustainability. They want to learn more. They want to gain experience doing public outreach and education and things like that.
It's a great idea.
I'm very excited to be facilitating that.
Yeah, and we're talking with Angelina Paoni, and she's the recycling and composting educator. Who would have thought that title would be out there? But we've moved from just throwing trash out to being more conscious of our environment and of our world, that we can't just keep dumping stuff.
Absolutely.
And people thought, well, we can just throw it in the water. We can always throw it in the water. And you can't do that. I mean,
absolutely. There's so much pollution associated with the waste management industry that people don't realize. We're so detached from our waste, right? We throw something in a bin,
we're done with it,
and it goes away, right?
It doesn't go away.
That's also a huge part of my rhetoric.
Like styrofoam that never goes away.
Yes, to raise awareness in the community about the impacts of our waste.
And maybe we should be stopping it from the top down. In other words, not so many plastic bags, not so much packaging. You know,
absolutely.
And if you can get away with getting away from packaging, get away from it. You know, that's what I try and do anyway. So check it out. You can get a hold of Angelina through her website, the CCE for Cornell Cooperative Extension, Schenectady.org recycling. Check it out and take the class, and you won't be disappointed. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Ann.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking with John Griffin, the author. Stay tuned. Got everything in? That's great. Good.
In a moment, it was all over, but took an eternity to be. Was gone, and baby.
Well, we have a tagline that says, "Pull back the curtain and peek beyond the veil."
I see a face
This is John Griffin Jr. He's the author of Paranormal Puzzle, Signs Beyond the Veil. So let's talk about your book.
Well, the veil, I could say that is actually a part of the puzzle. So for anybody who reads the book, part of the mystery is figuring out what I mean by the veil. And pretty much that's what the book does throughout the entire thing. It's laying out pieces of the puzzle, and not all the pieces may necessarily be in the book. So the book, what we say with the Paranormal Puzzle Group, which we now have on Facebook, we call it the Paranormal Puzzle Challenge, where we're challenging people to think in unique ways to try to bring pieces of the paranormal together. And a lot of people, when they think paranormal, they're thinking, oh yeah, he's talking about ghosts. Oh, we're going well beyond that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a spirit of everybody knows that there's something out there, but they don't know what.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is that part of the reason why we went about doing the paranormal puzzle, or what we're calling the paranormal puzzle approach, is to demonstrate a way that paranormal can be researched, as opposed to...
And you do research. It's
yes.
UI research, right?
UNI research, yep.
Yeah.
And the way we're approaching it is not the way the paranormal field typically would approach it. A lot of it right now is, they're calling it science, but I'm calling the approach science. It doesn't really take the scientific approach at all. It's very, the word science and scientific is being used loosely in the field. And we're finding many pieces of a puzzle, and we're seeing a bigger picture now that we're putting it together. But we can't just focus on one aspect of the paranormal. We're hitting all different aspects and finding out that there were answers to questions about, things such as ghosts that we found elsewhere in other categories of the paranormal that we should have been focusing on for the longest time. Mm-hmm. And that's where we finally put a name to the concept of paranormal puzzle.
Now, you brought a photograph,
mm-hmm.
and I think, well, let's take a look at the photograph that he brought, because I looked at it and I'm going, what am I looking at? And you're going to tell me what I'm looking at, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay, there it is.
Okay.
Now, what am I looking at?
Well, that's a mystery. I'm not going to tell. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
What you're actually seeing, that little light there, it was a partial apparition manifestation that we got. Now, here's the kicker. It is not from a standard camera that you would typically use. What the device that we were using was called the full spectrum camera. And what the full spectrum camera does is it takes the what our eyes can typically see, which is our, the visible spectrum that we can see. It removes that spectrum.
What we can see, it removes that?
Yep, it removes that, and instead it focuses on UV and IR.
Yeah.
So, and those are the two ends of the spectrum that you can't typically see. But that picture was actually far more telling than what a lot of people realized, and what it even realized to us. To us, it was like, oh, look, at the full spectrum camera worked. Great. So what does it tell us? And
well, there's something there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm looking at it. So what am I seeing?
Part of it was a face, and actually what we ended up getting with this one was that there was actually a demonic entity down in the basement at the time. And we actually caught audio to go with it. The kicker to this one, though, was our intuitive consultants on the team were picking up on what was down there. And they were pinpointing where it was. And when we snapped the photo, there it was. So...
You had corroboration.
Yeah, but now here's the kicker. That's part of the puzzle right there. The intuitives. A lot of times, see, a lot of people are using this whole concept of, that psychics have to gather the energy, and now they can see them. That's how it works. Kids can see them because they don't understand. And then pets can see them because they're sensitive. You just gave 3 different explanations for essentially the same thing, where we're saying they can see them. So
well, not CC, but C.
Oh no, that's what we're getting. We're looking at the eyes now.
Oh, okay.
We're considering when they're saying they can see, they can hear them. Well, the full spectrum camera sees a different color spectrum, and every color has its own specific vibration frequency. So now what we're looking at intuitives, children, and pets, does it have to do with the colors that they're registering, that they're seeing? Because we always look at the other spectrum, is that, or the other way, that, oh, they see normal, and as you know, their sight goes the other direction, we're saying that, well, they're going blind, etc. But then when we head in the other direction, that all of a sudden they see something that others can't see.
Yeah.
Now it's mystical.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah. So we define it by only words that we know.
Essentially, but we're also choosing not to consider, we're not choosing to consider the scientific portion. It's because, well, it's there, we have to find an explanation, and boom, there it is.
Now, if they purchase your book and look at your book, will they get some answers?
They will definitely get answers. We do some demonstrations with it. We also have within the book what's called the Your Notes section, where basically each chapter they can go through, write notes, and try to see if they can put pieces of the puzzle together throughout it. The next book that we're doing, which is Paranormal Puzzle and the Illuminated Loner, that's going to be more about how Paranormal Puzzle came into being, and it actually gives the demonstration of how to implement it.
How many on your team?
We fluctuate. Right now we're averaging between 8 and 10, but our goal is to get up to approximately 30 people.
Wow. Well, you've been hearing from John Griffin Jr. He does a lot of paranormal research, and he's written a book, and obviously there's another book in the works, and I'm sure if I could have him back in 10 years, he'd have 2 more books going on, right? But if you want to learn a little bit more about it, surely we suggest that you start with a book like this to learn a little bit more about the paranormal puzzle and Beyond the Veil, Signs Beyond the Veil. So thanks for being here today, John. It's always a pleasure to see you. We're going to be hearing from the band next, and I'm going to let them take over. So stay tuned. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Baby, I knew I did you wrong. I guess I just let the wealth, status, and the power go to my head. Everything was about me getting ahead, about me getting to the top, about me being the best that I could be. And girl, in the process, I totally forgot about your dreams and aspirations. I was wrong. I understand why you left me now. I basically was inattentive, baby. But I know I can be a better man if you come back.
And now we have Derek Horton and the J Street Band back again on this Schenectady Today's stage, and they will be playing Going Round in Circles, is that it? Will he go round in circles? And I hope he does.
I'll try. got no melody. I'm gonna sing it to my friends. I got a song that got no melody. I'm gonna sing it to my friends. When they go round and stack down, Lord, we fly high like a bird up in the sky. When they fly down and stack down, yeah, yeah. Fly high like a bird up in the sky. Brick house.